There we go. We're
There
recording.
you go. All good.
Hi. Who am I covering? Oh, there we go. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Admit. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Hi. Here we go. Barrage looks like a lovely light fixture. Very nice. Hi. Whoa. People are coming in quick. There we go. Hi, guys. Are you feeling it? The end of senior year? Are you feeling it? The struggle real? Yeah? Even during a pandemic, senioritis happened?
So real.
Yeah, right? I know. I was talking to my husband and I was like, man, a lot of my seniors just stopped turning stuff in. Like, what? Then I'm like, oh, duh, it's May and they're seniors. Like, that doesn't change just because there's a pandemic.
Right.
You're still seniors in May.
Yeah.
And it was still 75 degrees this weekend, so.
I got my last assignment in English today. He's last one. I was like, oh, it's so close.
Nice. Does that feel good?
Yeah.
Are you guys excited for the graduation stuff that they have planned for you? No. I mean, what are you going to do, right? It stinks. It's never going to be the same, right? So do you guys know what the graduation plan is?
Vaguely. It's just a virtual ceremony, right?
It's a virtual ceremony, and then isn't there going to be some kind of like car parade of sorts, right?
They have something going on this Saturday, and they said something about it, but they weren't very good with details and stuff. So there's something going on, but we haven't gotten much of anything on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still sort of frantically putting the plan together, to be honest. Yeah, there's something this Saturday, and then when is the virtual graduation?
I think it's the same day that our normal graduation is going to be.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. That is right. That's what I heard. Okay. All right. Well, a few more people might jump on, but that's okay. I don't want to take up more of your time than I need to. So the plan for this morning is to just really quickly do an overview of the argumentative essay. I'm going to do some general things, and then I'm going to specifically show you the essay that you guys just wrote. I've graded almost all of them. There are a few that I didn't get to yet, so if that's yours, I apologize, but I went through them as quickly as I could. And I will finish the rest of them today, but I'm going to go through that essay with you today, so hopefully you'll get the feedback you need regardless. And then just FYI, tomorrow at the same time, we'll Zoom again really quickly and go over the concept application FRQ. College Board on Friday changed the FRQ and still haven't given us the new rubric. I can figure it out, right? So I can still explain it to you without the new rubric, but and it's not dramatically different. You will be fine, but it is information that you need to know. So that's what we will do tomorrow. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to share with you first is this guy here. Can you guys all see this argumentative essay? No, I can't see you anymore. So where did you go? There we go. Close that, do that. Okay. Can you guys see the screen? Okay, great. Quick overview. 25 minutes is how much time you have to do everything for the argumentative essay. So I have been asking you to time yourselves as you write these ones I've been assigning you. That's because 25 minutes is not a lot of time, right? You have 25 minutes to read the prompt, to think about it, to come up with a plan and to write your entire essay. You have to do all of that in 25 minutes, okay? Then once your 25 minutes is up, you have 5 minutes to upload your essay. Now, College Board yesterday sent out the demo site where you can practice doing this. I linked it in Schoology. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you guys spend some time playing around with that. You can play around with copying and pasting. You can play around with attaching documents. You can play around with handwriting, taking a picture and uploading that, although I would make that your plan C, because I don't think, unless you are a like intensely slow typer, I recommend you type, because it'll be obviously easier for the grader to read it, right, than handwriting. So 25 minutes is not a lot, guys. And what this means is you don't have time to do research, right? If you don't know these documents going in, you're not going to have time to go learn about them and formulate an essay and write it, okay? There just isn't time. You will be able to do this in 25 minutes using 2 things. What you already know, okay, which means you need to study, and having those cheat sheets that I provided for you out next to you so that you can quickly glance at them to confirm what you're thinking, to get one extra piece of information or whatever and pull that into your essay. But that's it, right? You're not gonna have time to sit there Googling stuff, reading the document, anything like that. There just flat out is not time. You also don't have time to quote the documents. And also you don't need to quote the documents. That's totally unnecessary. Okay, the graders will 100% not expect you to have direct quotes in your essay. Don't waste your time doing it. Okay, I mean, if you're gonna like add like a 2 or 3 word quote that you know off the top of your head, great, that's fine. But don't feel like you need to go searching for quotes to put into your essay. Unnecessary waste of time, won't help you. Okay, paraphrase it. That's great. That's all you need. Questions about this? Okay. So this is general feedback from the essays that I've been grading. Thesis statements are getting better, but again, they're so important because they're a gatekeeper point. And if you don't get the thesis point, you're really setting yourself up to only get 2 out of 7. Okay, so we need to make sure we do this. So a couple points of feedback on the thesis statements. Really, really, really try your best to stick to that format I gave you, more or less, right? Hold on, I'm admitting somebody, sorry, there we go. You want to restate the prompt, you want to choose your side, you want to tell me why, right? Explain your evidence. If it's not in that exact order, it's okay, right? I find myself sometimes switching the pick a side and restate the prompt. That's fine, but it's got to be in there, okay? The word because should essentially always appear in your thesis statement, okay? Here's what I think because then your line of reasoning follows. Okay, I'm going to talk more about the line of reasoning in a second. Make sure your claim really stands out. Don't like hide it in a bunch of words, right? Make it really, really crystal clear which side you're choosing. Okay, this doesn't need to be like a beautifully well-written piece of literature. Okay. In fact, probably the best essays are not like the best writing, so to speak, right? Nobody's winning a Pulitzer Prize for this. Okay. Just make it crystal clear which side you support, okay? Make it really super clear. Questions so far? Okay. The line of reasoning, okay? This is something I'm seeing a lot of, and it's also something that I'm reading a lot from, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I mean to do this. From other AP Gov teachers that have been readers are telling us that this is really important for the line of reasoning. This has to be really specific, not vague, okay? It also means you shouldn't just list your evidence, right? So what I've seen many of you do is this. The executive branch should play a more active role in response to pandemics such as COVID-19 because, so far we're good, this looks great, okay? Here comes the line of reasoning. Because of the powers in Article 2 and Hamilton's argument in Federalist 70. That's not a line of reasoning. That's just listing your evidence, okay? You need to more specifically, so don't do that. Okay, you need to more specifically hone in on what from Article 2 and what from Fed 70 is going to be your argument, is going to be your support. Okay, you need to be much more specific than this in your line of reasoning. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll pause in case anybody has a question. Okay. This is better, okay? So the beginning is the same. The executive branch should play a more active role in response to pandemics such as COVID-19 because Article 2 of the Constitution provides the president with the power to execute laws necessary to fight a pandemic on a national scale. So now you really see where I'm going to go with my argument for Article 2, right? And because the unitary executive, defended in Federalist 70, allows for the quick and decisive action required to deal with a national crisis. Okay, so again, you see where I'm going to take Fed 70 more specifically to support my claim. Do you guys see the difference in what you need to do more specifically with your line of reasoning?
I had a question.
Yeah.
Do you have to list the documents you're using in the thesis, or can you just list ideas and then like support the ideas with the document?
The second thing you said, you do not have to list your documents. It doesn't hurt you, certainly. But it's not required that you list your documents. So for example, if here I'd said, because the Constitution provides the president with the power to execute laws necessary to fight a pandemic on a national scale and didn't include Article 2, you'd be okay.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay, so I tried to catch as many of the issues with thesis statements on the discussion board as I could. If I missed some, like if I didn't correct you like I should have, sorry. I think I got them all, but this is what we're looking for with a thesis statement and line of reasoning, okay? Anybody have a question? Okay. Last piece of general feedback. And this is not a thesis thing, this is just for the whole essay. Don't use documents by arguing against them, okay? A couple people did this, and I want to nip this in the bud, and I actually just caught a couple more. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is what you should not do. In Brutus 1, the author argued that we need the people's voices to be directly represented in government. But that isn't realistic, and so a trustee model is the best choice. Do you see how here they're using Brutus 1 by saying, oh, but Brutus 1 is wrong, and so we need the opposite thing, okay? That's a no-no. If you're going to use a document, use it to support your claim in the positive, okay? I just saw a few people do it with this most recent essay. Their claim was that states should play a more active role in responding to COVID-19. But then they used Article 2 as one of their pieces of evidence by saying, see, look, it doesn't say in Article 2 the president can do it, so they shouldn't, okay? I think that's pretty weak. I don't think that's a really strong argument. I don't think you're gonna get points for that, okay? Instead, there you use the 10th Amendment, right? And you say the 10th Amendment says if it's not listed, it's reserved for the states. And here was the philosophy behind the 10th Amendment, right? The 10th Amendment's there to ease the fears of the anti-federalists that this powerful federal government would totally usurp the powers of the states. And so the 10th Amendment protects the powers of the states because states are sort of better prepared to respond to the unique needs of their citizens. You know, and with a pandemic like COVID-19, different states are affected differently. So states know what their citizens need better than the federal government. And so states are better prepared to respond. Do you guys see how I did that? Okay, that's way better than saying, well, it's not in Article 2, so the states should do it. You know what I mean? It's just a much weaker argument, okay? Questions about what I just said? Okay. Oh yeah, here, please no. Instead, choose a different document that directly supports your claim. So like I said, choose the 10th Amendment or, you know, whatever. In this case, if you're gonna argue for a trustee, right, you should choose Fed 10, okay? Because that supports trustee. Good? Okay. So let's look specifically at the essay you guys just wrote, which, by the way, in general, you guys did a really excellent job. I was leaving lots of feedback where I could, but in a lot of cases I was being kind of nitpicky, so well done. All right, so here's the prompt just to refresh your memory. This is about who should play a more active role in responding to a global pandemic and crisis like COVID-19. Should it be the executive branch or should it be the states? Okay. The 3 pieces of evidence that you were given to choose from for evidence number 1 were the 10th Amendment, Article 2 of the Constitution, and Fed 70. Okay. So now, I'm going to switch what I'm sharing, and I'm going to make sure you can see it. Okay. Can you guys see this now? Can you see the Word document? I'll make it bigger. Okay. Can you read it well enough? Is it big enough for you? Okay, cool. All right, so I wrote 2 sample answers for you, one arguing each side, okay? These are not perfect necessarily, but I just wanted you to see sort of examples of what I mean would be like a good response that would get full credit. Here's my thesis. The executive branch of the federal government should play a more active role than individual state governments in response to global health pandemics like COVID-19. Here's my claim. I picked a side. I restated the prompt. Okay, I have my because. Here's my line of reasoning. The executive branch, with a unitary executive, is designed to be able to quickly and decisively respond to crises by using both the formal and informal powers of the president. So here, I've kind of combined my 2 into one statement, right? I'm going to talk about the unitary executive, and to Chase's question earlier, I didn't say Fed 70 in my thesis, although I'm alluding to it here, right? And then I also say here, I'm going to talk about the formal and informal powers of the president and how they allow the president to act quickly and decisively, okay? Then I'm going to start my first paragraph. A quick note, there were lots of you who had just one giant block of text. Please don't do that. Make 3 distinct paragraphs. For your sake, because it's easier for you to go back and check things, but also for the grader. It allows them to follow a lot easier, okay? All right, Federalist 70 supports my claim. In Federalist 70, Alexander Hamilton defends the creation of a unitary executive by arguing that having one single president will create accountability and energy necessary for the presidency to operate efficiently and democratically. So there's where I'm sort of showing the grader. I've read Fed 70. I understand Fed 70. And here's how I'm going to start to connect it to my claim. Okay. The accountability comes from knowing exactly who to blame and hold accountable when something goes wrong. In this way, it is more desirable for the president to lead the response to a national emergency like COVID-19 than for the states to lead the response, because if something goes wrong, we will know who to blame and hold accountable, okay? So there's where I'm connecting back to Fed 70, okay? Hamilton also argues, so here, guys, I'm kind of hedging my bets a little bit. I'm going to talk about 2 different aspects of Fed 70, right? To try to make sure that I get the point, right? So then I say Hamilton also argues, here I am right here, okay, in Fed 70, that the American president must be empowered to act quickly to respond to a national crisis without being slowed down by working with other entities, right? Congress, whoever, the states, whatever. A lot of you guys use this point and you did it really well. I would argue some of you actually did it better than I did. Fed 70 supports my claim that the executive branch should play a more active role in responding to a global health crisis. See how I keep repeating myself here and making it really clear that I'm about to make the connection? It's not beautiful writing, but it's good argumentative essay writing. Because it supports the idea that the president's role is to respond decisively during an emergency as only a single executive can. During a national emergency, Hamilton argues that we need the response to be quick, decisive, and accountable to the people of this country. And because these requirements can only be met if the executive branch plays the active role, Federalist 70 supports my claim. So I'm just tying it all back together, okay? Questions about that paragraph? All right, then my second piece of evidence, I chose to use the president's formal and informal powers, right? This is a key concept from the course, the fact that the president has both formal and informal powers. So the first thing I do is I kind of explain what this means, right? You want to make sure that the grader knows you get this, okay? So I say they make the president the right person to play the most active role. The president's formal powers come from Article 2 of the Constitution, One of those is that the president is the chief executive. The president must take care that laws be faithfully executed. Okay? The president's formal power and duty to faithfully execute the law makes him the correct person to actively respond to a national health crisis, because he's the only one able to put laws into action in a way that benefits the health and safety of people in all 50 states. Okay? So there's my discussion of formal powers. Okay? Then I'm going to talk about informal powers. President's informal powers are either implied by the US Constitution or are inherent in the office of the presidency itself. Here's what some of them are: executive orders and the bully pulpit. Now the grader knows I understand informal powers, right? Took me one sentence to make sure that was true. Then I'm going to talk about the president can use his power to issue executive orders to harness the full power of the federal bureaucracy to respond to the health crisis using expert bureaucrats to execute laws to protect the American people. Okay. One thing that I suggested that some of you do that I didn't do and should have is use an example here, right? A great example for me to throw in here in one sentence would be, for example, the CDC is full of experts on infectious disease, right? They're perfect for doing this, and only the federal bureaucracy has all of these experts at their disposal, right, to benefit the whole country. So if I were doing this again and grading my own essay, I would say include an example here, okay? Then I'm going to talk about a second informal power, the bully pulpit. The president can use his bully pulpit via TV, internet, social media to influence the American people to take health measures that are deemed necessary. For example, again, examples are your friend, okay? President Trump could use social media to show himself wearing a face mask, washing his hands, social distancing as a way to convince the American people that these measures are important and necessary, right? This is what the bully pulpit is for. The president should play a more active role in responding to a national health crisis because his formal and informal powers allow him to take actions that will quickly benefit the people of all 50 states. Just sort of tie it up again at the end. Okay. One quick note before we move on to the second example. I personally think the answer to this question is that the executive branch should play a more active role. However, I thought it was easier to answer the question the other way. I found it a lot easier to write the essay arguing that states should play a more active role. I thought that the evidence for me was easier to explain, okay? The reason I'm saying this is that's okay. You can choose to argue in your essay the opposite side of what you personally believe if you think it's a stronger essay, okay? I think this essay, the second one I'm about to go through with you, is stronger than my first one, even though I personally believe the answer to the first one. Okay, just a quick note to put that in your brain for when you're sitting there trying to figure out what to argue, okay? Does anybody have questions about this first one before we move on? Okay. So here I'm going to argue the states should play a more active role. Here's my thesis. They should play a more active role, blah, 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 because state governments are closer to the people and therefore better aware of their unique needs, and because state governments are less able to violate the civil liberties of citizens through their actions. Okay. I chose the 10th Amendment from the list, right? I say the 10th Amendment supports my claim. The 10th Amendment requires that any power not exclusively given to the federal government is reserved for the states. Now I just proved I know what the 10th Amendment is. Healthcare and health policy is not a power enumerated to the federal government and is therefore reserved for the states. The purpose of the 10th Amendment. So here's where a lot of you use the 10th Amendment, but you didn't get to why it supports your claim, okay, and why it's important. I don't think it's a strong enough argument to just say, and so since it's not in the Constitution, the states have to do it. Well, why should the states do it, right? What makes the states better to respond, okay? So here's where sort of the philosophy behind the 10th Amendment is going to really bolster your argument, okay? The purpose of the 10th Amendment was to ease the fears of the anti-federalists, that the federal government would become so large and powerful that it would usurp all power from the states, rendering the states obsolete and allowing the federal government to violate the liberties of their citizens. The 10th Amendment reserves health policy to the states. States are best suited to play the active role because they can do so in accordance with the Constitution and without violating the civil liberties of their citizens. Okay? Questions about that one? And then lastly, I chose the second document that wasn't on the list. As soon as I start thinking about states should have more power, I start thinking about Brutus, right? And so you should kind of have in your head how you are going to separate these documents, right? If we're talking about a strong, active federal government, you should be thinking Fed 10. But if you're thinking about power reserved for the states, you should be thinking Brutus. Have those in your back pocket, okay? So here I'm going to say the Brutus, the Anti-Federalist paper, supports my claim. In Brutus 1, the author argues that for democracy to function, elected officials need to know the hearts and minds of their constituents and to be able to represent their needs accurately. The greater knows that I know Brutus, okay? I got that point. This means that for government to function effectively, it needs to be close to and know its citizens. In order for government to respond effectively to the COVID-19 crisis, government needs to know the unique needs, challenges, and lifestyles of its citizens. As argued in Brutus 1, government can only know its citizens this well in small numbers, like in states, and not in large numbers, like in a large federal republic. Because state governments are closer to the people, know what their people need, it's states that are best suited to play an active role in responding to a crisis, okay? Questions, comments? How do you feel about this? Okay. So that's argumentative, okay? Any questions about the argumentative essay in general, as I come back to you, there we go, that you want to ask? I really want to stress to you guys that this is 25 minutes is not a lot of time. It's enough time to do it if you know it, right? Do not rely on the ability to Google things, to look in your book. You have a couple seconds to take quick glances, but you don't have 10 minutes to go look stuff up and learn it, okay? So, and really, some of you did a beautiful job incorporating direct quotes from the documents into your essay, but you just don't have time for that, okay? So don't try. Anybody? Anything at all? Okay. Tomorrow, same time, same place, we'll talk about concept application FRQ. There are some new things, so you need to make sure you're here. Cliffhanger. Hopefully that'll bring you all back tomorrow. And yeah, keep working on through your review materials. If you have questions about any of it, let me know. I've been posting new stuff, so make sure you keep checking. I highly encourage you to go through the demo. Like I said, I put that up there. You need your AP ID for that. And play around with it so you feel comfortable. We are the first test, right? So play around with the demo, make sure you feel comfortable, know how you're going to do it. Are you going to copy and paste? Are you going to upload an attachment? What's your plan going to be? Know that going in. The first time you see this should not be May 11th, okay? So walk through the demo and figure out what your plan's going to be, okay? Did anybody watch Lin-Manuel Miranda do the A-Push review?
I did. Some of it.
Wasn't it good?
It was so good.
It was great.
So good. I think it's still on YouTube if you want to go watch it. Or just start listening to Hamilton songs again. All right, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Thank you.
See ya. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Miss Hammond.
Thank you.
Bye.